Right, listen up. This one's for anyone in their 20s, 30s, 40s who's been paying rent month after month and thinking, when do I get my turn? I'm Jack Carter, coming to you from the north, where kids I know, hard-working, steady jobs, are still miles from a deposit. Today's claim, Britain is being nudged, no, pushed towards becoming a nation of permanent renters, and a neat set of institutions and policymakers are making that outcome easier, not harder. Scary property headlines? They might be part of the problem, not the cure.
Hi Jack. Hi everyone. I'm Dr. Amara Singh. I research housing policy in Manchester planning, pension funds, that world. I'll be grounding Jack's anger with the nuts and bolts, the numbers, the policy shifts, and who actually benefits when homes stop being sold to families and become long-term assets for big funds.
Right. Let's take Britain's temperature first. Home ownership's down from the post-war highs. Right now, it's around 64.5%. That number hides the brutal detail. Under 35s have been squeezed hardest. In towns like Burton and much of the Midlands and North, typical house prices run 5 to 6 times local wages. Deposits that once felt achievable now look unthinkable. Rents up, savings impossible. Couples in their early 30s, good jobs, 2 incomes, still can't get on the ladder. They're not a statistic, they're my neighbours.
Exactly, and to put that in context, when average prices sit at 5 to 6 times earnings, mortgage serviceability rules and deposit requirements push first-time buyer access down sharply. Rent increases absorb the disposable income that might otherwise be saved. The research shows prolonged renting reduces the probability of ever owning. There's a cumulative effect.
So why the doom and gloom stories? Newspapers love a crash, the clicks, the panic. But the major forecasters aren't shouting crash. Nationwide, Halifax, Savills, Knight Frank, even the OBR have been offering forecasts in the low single digits for 2026 and something like 15 to 25% growth over 5 years in many scenarios. Not a freefall. So, question time. Who benefits from keeping ordinary buyers terrified and waiting on the sidelines?
That's the core. If the consensus among big players is modest growth, not collapse, then scaring small buyers off creates buying opportunities for those with capital ready. Institutions prefer predictable, slow-rising markets. Rents go up a bit each year, capital values tick up, and you own an income stream. That's far better than a volatile crash which harms long-term balance sheets.
Meet the new landlords then. Blackstone, big name, via Leaf Living. Greystar building blocks. Pension giants, Legal & General, M&G, Aviva, pouring billions into rental housing. Grainger turning REIT growth into scale. Lloyds with Citra Living saying they'll aim for 50,000 homes by 2030. Foreign funds, KKR, Nuveen, PGIM are here in force. All told, roughly 40 billion into build-to-rent over the last decade, with another wave expected in 2026. These aren't homes built to sell to a young family, they're assets for long-term rent returns.
Build-to-rent, or BTR, is designed to be held long-term. Unlike a developer who builds homes to sell and move on, these entities retain ownership and manage the properties as a business. Pension funds like this model, long-dated, income-generating assets to match pension liabilities. The mechanics are straightforward: cheap institutional finance, large portfolios, and economies of scale on management.
And policies have played a role. Labour's housing plan, 1.5 million homes pledge, changes in the National Planning Policy Framework, mandatory housing targets back on the table, opening Greybelt land, a development task force to speed up big sites. Everything says Build lots, fast. Sounds good, right? Except the incentives on the ground favour big, consolidated development that's perfect for institutional buyers, not necessarily the local family looking to buy a 3-bed semi.
There are two linked policy facts to highlight. 1. Fast-tracking large sites tends to favour large developers and institutional delivery, who can mobilise at scale and take on complex planning conditions. 2. Legal and tax structures, REIT rules, stamp duty treatments and access to low-cost capital tilt the economics in favour of funds. Combine those with permitted development and denser schemes, and many new homes end up as rental blocks rather than for sale.
Then there's the Renters' Rights Act, big change in May 2026, end of no-fault evictions and all tenancies moving to periodic status. On paper, that's a win for tenants, more security. But in practice, when you pair that with tax moves coming in 2027, higher property income taxation and other compliance costs, small landlords start to think, I'm squeezed, sell up. Who's first in line? Often institutional buyers with cheap capital and government-aligned delivery paths. It's a double-edged sword. Better rights the tenants, but fewer small landlords and more corporates.
The OBR warned exactly this. Squeezing small landlords without ensuring alternative supply can, paradoxically, reduce total rental stock and push rents higher in the medium term. The policy intention, improving tenant security, is laudable. The implementation matters. If the exit of smaller landlords isn't matched by entry from diverse local owners or community schemes, concentration happens.
Picture Burton again. Brownfield sites sprout new build-to-rent blocks, shiny, secure, and priced at a premium the locals can barely meet. A street of family homes goes up for sale. A local couple tries to bid. They're outgunned by a fund that says, we'll take them all, thanks. Those houses disappear from the for-sale market and become long-term rental income streams. The rent's higher. The couple's deposit never arrives. The wealth from local houses, those capital gains, flows to pension beneficiaries and foreign funds, not to the community. This is not hypothetical. It's happening.
And that creates a two-tier Britain: asset-rich owners and permanent renters. Home ownership is not just an economic status. It's security, community stake, intergenerational wealth. If children grow up without ownership prospects, we'll see long-term social change, less civic investment, weaker ties to place, and more capital extraction from local economies. If children grow up without ownership prospects, we'll see long-term social change, less civic investment, weaker ties to place, and more capital extraction from local economies. This is not hypothetical. It's happening.
So, what's the trajectory if we let this play out? Build-to-rent is still only about 2% of the private rented sector now, but it's growing fast and takes a lot of new supply. If most new homes are added to the rental pool owned by institutions rather than sold to owner-occupiers, ownership rates slide. Communities lose the chance to anchor local wealth. Whole swathes of towns become ecosystems where residents pay rent to remote managers. That's the nation of renters scenario.
But it's not inevitable. There are policy levers and civic actions that could change the direction. For instance, caps or extra taxes on bulk purchases of existing family homes by corporate buyers, incentives for build-to-buy homes built with the intention to sell to local buyers, expanded shared ownership where equity stakes are reduced to accessible levels, and funding for community land trusts and co-housing models which keep homes in local hands.
And at the local level, who do you contact? Your MP and your councillors. Push on planning conditions. Insist on a percentage of homes for sale to local buyers, not just BTR blocks. Ask councils to refuse bulk sale deals that hollow out local ownership. Oppose planning fast tracks that hand huge sites exclusively to institutional players without local ownership provisions. Write letters, show up at meetings. Do not assume politicians will just see this.
Personal strategies matter too. Be skeptical of crash headlines that tell you to wait forever. Those narratives can benefit buyers with deep pockets. Look into alternative ownership models, co-buying with friends or family, community land trusts, mutual housing associations. Follow local council planning agendas so you know when big sales are happening, and support campaigns and charities pushing for reforms that prioritise first-time buyers.
Practical, right. But I want to be clear. I'm not giving financial advice here. I'm giving tools, civic, political, communal, to push back. If you're angry, channel it. If you're scared, learn where the pressure points are. There are lots of routes we can demand, policy sticks and carrots that lock homes back into local ownership rather than handing them over to corporate balance sheets.
To add one specific idea, require a local first dibs clause on new developments receiving public support. Give priority to owner-occupiers in a designated radius for a defined window before properties are offered to institutional investors. Pair that with funding for small-scale mortgage guarantees for first-time buyers. That combination would tilt new supply toward people, not funds.
That hits the nail. But some listeners will say, won't that scare off investment we need to build homes? To them I say, investment is welcome if it builds a country of owners and keeps homes affordable. We've had decades where the model favoured quick profits and extraction. We can have investment that's paired with rules protecting ownership routes.
Investment isn't the enemy structure, is. Transparent contracts, conditional public land sales, restrictions on bulk acquisitions of family homes unless explicit local ownership protections are in place, these aren't anti-business. They're pro-community. They ensure the long-term social return of housing policy is maximised, not just the short-term financial return for big investors.
So, final pulse check. Your home or their asset class? That's the choice we're being steered toward. Government policy, institutional money, and media narratives are combining in ways that could lock in a permanent rental majority unless we act. A home should be somewhere to build a life, not a predictable line on a pension fund's balance sheet.
If you care about this, there's work to do. Engage with your local council. Demand planning conditions that protect local buyers. Support policy proposals for limits on bulk purchases and incentives for build-to-buy. And most importantly, hold MPs accountable. Ask them where they stand on these specifics, not just warm words about building more homes.
Right. One tiny test. Write or email your MP this week. Ask, will they back limits on bulk purchases? Will they push for a local first dibs policy on public land sales? It's a small step, it's a start. And if you're in Burton or anywhere across the Midlands and North, forward this episode to someone who's been stuck renting for years. Make them angry in the useful way.
Useful anger, I like that. And subscribe for updates. Policies shift fast. Knowing what your council or local developers are planning can make a real difference.
That's us for today. Tell us your stories. Have you been outbid by a corporate buyer? Seen rental blocks go up where family homes should be? We want to hear. Drop a message, leave a review, and share this with anyone stuck in the rental trap. Stay tuned, stay sharp, and remember, your home should be yours, not just another asset on a corporate balance sheet. UK Pulse, out.